Oh, sorry. Hi, Ross.
We're here, Charlie. We made it.
Did you like that drone footage I put for the intro?
I did. I like the music though. Before the actual intro music, I like the slow jams you were playing. I like
Oh yeah, that's a new thing here. So you didn't even watch the intro, man. That drone footage is always so cool. We're
I
gonna
do
have to
like drone
thank.
footage until it runs out of batteries and lands on a referee's head and somebody gets sued.
Don't be
Then
up.
drones are not cool because I have a big head. So the hood of it thing on my head is very good.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Thor Fayed. I think it's his last name from the Tridents.
Big friend of the pod. Big friend of the pod.
Yes, he is, and he provided that drone footage. So this was a
Excellent.
slow weekend, huh, Ross?
Listen, as well as I did, Charlie, there are no such things. Actually, this weekend was a slow weekend for me. As weekends go, it was a very slow weekend. I had kids. I did watch some rugby. I went to watch FAU UCF, which I don't get to do very often, as I'm usually reffing or watching softball. So that was good.
Tough.
Nice, relaxing day today. I watched most of England France. Saw lots of kicking by Ben Youngs and a French victory. Unfortunately, Tom Ciampa, and we'll talk to him in a second, is in Ireland, did not get to celebrate a Six Nations championship there with the Irish, but they did finish second.
But they got the something called what is it? The three something, I don't know, the triplate, I don't know.
The Triple Crown.
That one. Okay, it looks like a
Triple Crown you get beating the other British teams.
Okay.
So they did win the Triple Crown. Well, welcome to episode 42 of TFRO. We had a couple weeks off. Charlie and I are both very busy people at the moment, work-wise. So it's not always possible to get an episode together. Charlie puts a lot of work into it. I just kind of show up. But Charlie's been a very busy man. Hopefully this is why we call it Talking Florida Rugby occasionally, Charlie, because who knows when we're going to be on. Let's be honest.
Yeah, hopefully in the coming weeks we are on every weekend, because now is when this gets interesting.
Yes, playoffs coming up. Playoffs start next week. I still don't know who's hosting D4 semi-quarterfinals, but I asked the man in charge today if I could potentially find out who won the one division with Tallahassee and Gainesville in it, but I did not get an answer. So referees, you're just going to have to wait another day because I don't know who's hosting next weekend. Anyway,
I'm gonna call them I'm gonna call this the final rounds, not the playoffs, because in every division everybody's going to playoffs. So I'm just gonna call it the final round.
You call it whatever you like, Charlie. Okay. You can call it. I mean, we call it the Premier Division, whatever that is. So I
don't do that. Okay.
So sorry, nobody else calls it that other than the Union. we still call it D2, D3, D4.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, we'll get to some playoff stuff later. Let's get to our off the top. Well, first of all, if you have any comments, you can comment on YouTube and on Facebook.
Please
do also join us.
Say hi
with rugbyfl.com. rugbyfl.com/join, right, Charlie?
That's to join the podcast at the end.
Yeah, or you can drop comments in there. We'll probably get an hour and a half today because I've got no kids and no wife. So
wow,
I got plenty of time. I don't have to be at work till 9 o'clock. So we may go an hour and a half today.
We can go until midnight.
Yeah, no, I got to work at 9. I just told you that. So that's not happening. As much as I'd rather be doing this than working, I got to be at work. So off the top, Max Tucci, former Western front row man, former Utah Warrior, now with the Dallas Jackals, scored a try last weekend. Not yesterday, but the weekend before. There was a good video of it. He posted on Facebook. He got tackled about the 5-meter line, but he wasn't held. Got back up. I'm pretty sure that's his first MLR try. So congrats to Max Tucci, former Western Anacapi player. He has come off the bench for Dallas. I don't think Dallas have won a game yet, Charlie. I might be wrong. But
to be honest, I'm not following MLR that close. To be honest,
neither am I. There's just too much. I think for everybody, I think there's just much else going on. Right? There's too much of the rugby.
Yeah. Unless
you have a local team, it's hard to follow MLR sometimes. I try to keep track, but yeah, Dallas are 0-7 with a minus 160 point differential. But they're a first-year team, and obviously they were supposed to start last year and didn't start last year, so it's a little understandable that things are kind of, and then they get coaching change at the last minute. So things are a little messed up in Dallas, but hopefully they keep on trucking. Their last place in the East. Old Glory is also winless. Old Glory DC also winless.
Okay, nobody cares. Let's move on.
I will say Mitch Wilson continues to start in the backs for New England, Jack Orlando player, so I'll give him a shout out as well.
Okay.
But congrats to Tucci on the try. Not too many times prop score tries. That's good to see. Key Biscayne youth went up to the North Carolina Rugby Fest. Was it this weekend, Charlie, or last weekend? Last weekend.
The last one. The one before this one. Yeah,
last weekend.
2 weekends ago.
Christian Grosso did tell me their U14s team went 3-0. U16s went 2-1, as did U19s. So winning records for all three Key Biscayne teams up there in North Carolina. Charlie, you said Matt Goff of Goff Rugby Report had some good things to say about Key Biscayne as well.
Well, actually, like the usual thing that he saw that such a good level of play, but then also sort of lacking size, and eventually, that always gets against them. But he has some kind words, and it's really something to sort of highlight that a club goes through the trouble of even in the middle of the season. I guess that game that they did not play against, I can't remember who right now, but it's going to be lost. But, taking 3 teams to North Carolina, that's a great thing to do for any club. So we just wanted to highlight that of the Key Biscayne Rats.
He also sent us some pictures, Charlie. So I'm going to send you a couple right now on WhatsApp. Maybe we can show those later. But good job. That's a lot. Taking that amount of kids up to North Carolina is not an easy task. So good for them. Hopefully it'll help them perhaps in the postseason. And third thing off the top, USA Rugby announced earlier this week that their original World Cup bids were for 2029 on the women's side of things and 2031 on the men's side of things, but they pushed those back to the 2031 and 2033. So 9 more years we've got to wait, Charlie. Hopefully we'll still be alive.
Yeah, it still sounds a little bit strange thinking of a World Cup here, right? It just doesn't.
Listen, we've got infrastructure, which is the hardest thing, right? You need the stadiums and the hotels, which is the 2 hardest things to get, and we have all that, and the media infrastructure. So, and fans will come here. It's cheap to get here.
Yeah, for sure.
From all over the world. So I think it'll be fun if we can host in 2031, but we'll see. All right. What I said, I could look like Gaultier. If only I played like him. And Ed, did you get Eddie's comment, Charlie? I missed that one. Why is everybody going to the playoffs? Well, Eddie, the teams had a chance to vote whether to have an 8-team playoff or have sort of 2 separated 4-team playoffs, with the top 4 teams going to the cup and the sort of the bottom 4 teams going to the plate. And as the teams voted to have everybody make the playoffs, obviously there was a bit of shenanigans last year when when Cardinal Gibbons won it I think they were a 7 seed, right, Charlie?
Yeah, 7th.
And won the whole thing. That set some alarm bells off for some people, but majority rules. And we'll see if that changes next year, perhaps with now a Florida Youth Board in place. They may change it next year if they come to an agreement, or if they want to overrule the teams. We'll see.
Yeah, but let me and just to be clear, this is the same for all divisions, which sort of caught my attention, even for D2 and D3.
It is. And
for the FCC boys.
It is.
We'll talk about this later. Why don't we get to our guest? He has to go.
Let's get to our first guest because he's 5 hours ahead. Was it 4 hours? I can't even count.
Oh, he's gone to the party. I don't know. So here he is, Tom.
Tom Ciampa.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Nice to have you.
I'm very well. Tell us where you are right now.
Oh, so Dublin, Ireland now. Went to the Six Nations match, Ireland versus Scotland yesterday, and then was at the Women's Premier Final, Railway versus Bohemian this afternoon. Both in Dublin.
Very cool. Very cool. Tell us about that experience. Obviously, Ireland won, but did not end up winning the Six Nations because France defeated some shitty team in white. But talk about those 2 games, Tom. Was that your first ever sort of overseas international?
No, we used to come there once every year, guys, with my old club. This is probably the 6th time I've been to the Aviva. Always a good time, and the Irish always put on a good show. You drink Guinness till it comes out your ears, but
you drinking? No,
I couldn't imagine. And then the game is fantastic. It's the rugby culture in Ireland is unlike anything you'll find in the States. there's the 6-year-old at the pub who's talking about who's starting in the lineup that day.
And is he drinking?
No, not at 6, not till he's 8.
Now, I know Haley, you should have refed while you were there, Tom. I know Haley Slaughter spent some time there refereeing.
So I was out. I extended my trip by a day. I don't know if you know Kat Roche. She's the referee out of Texas. She got assigned.
I know of her. I'm here and she's here. So in the refereeing community, but I have seen her.
Yeah. So I stayed. She had the match today, the women's Premier Final, right. And then she's got Ireland versus Wales in the TikTok Six Nations next weekend, and then she's got England, Italy in Italy the following weekend. So she was out here, and I was just making some comments as had I known, I would have. I booked this trip back in November, so it's been a while in the making. Said, had I known, I would have brought my boots and refed a game. You're more than welcome. I mean, they're like everybody else, even though there's more clubs, there's more referees.
You don't need your boots to referee. We have seen you without boots.
You have seen me without boots. So, you've seen me with low socks. You've seen me with an untucked shirt, and you always seem to make a highlight out of it.
Charlie, how do we not have video and pictures of this? You do. I'll give you some time to pull those up. But
I'm sure there's a highlight reel somewhere.
Damn,
Tom is one of our. Tom is one of our up and coming. Can I call you young, Tom? How old are you now?
You can call me young. I'm 32, but I'll 32
take it. For refereeing purposes, he's not young, but he's still old enough. I tell people all the time, listen, if you want to get to the levels of the Ciscos, the Haleys, the Khalils, the Lex Wieners, you have to start refereeing early. You can't start at the age of 40 and expect people to put time and money into developing the referee. But if you start early enough, which Tom is probably just starting early enough, and Tom's, you've seen Tom, people have put time and money into you over the last few years. So tell us a bit about your rugby background.
Yeah, I mean, started playing, 15 years ago with the University of Maine. Played up in New England for a while. Played out in Michigan, out in California, down here in Florida with the Panthers. Played all around variety of positions. I've been a referee for about 12 years now. Took the course and was always kind of a player ref. Broke my thumb playing touch, like every good touch player does, and said, "All right, this is it. I'm a referee now." And very quickly, last year it was met the right group of people, got up to Tropical Sevens, got up to the College Rugby Championships. And it's a different level of refereeing when you're getting feedback based on how do you become a better ref, how do you make better decisions, and you're not going by getting yelled at by the teams and getting yelled at by the players as your only feedback for the early parts of your career. But once you start developing, it becomes a whole bunch of fun. And then traveling around, and they fly you to decent places. I was up in New York, I was out in Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City as well. So plenty of opportunities out there, and they're always looking for good referees. I mean, the people on this podcast know it. You go to the games and everybody wants a good referee. The referees don't want to screw it up, but they're always looking for more people to get interested, get developed, go through the system.
Was that women's final? Is that a professional rugby game or it's like club?
It was the level 1 club here.
But it's professional.
No, I'd say these people probably had jobs outside of this. Okay. But they're training 4 or 5 days a week. They're watching film. They're having gym sessions. I mean, the other thing that's great about being over here is the clubhouses are not like nothing we have in the States. That clubhouse has, it's got the history, B, they've got, premier field, 2 other lower level fields, practice field, and then 2 bars in the clubhouse, enough to host 150 people. We don't have anything like that here.
No, I always love when we get new refs and they ask me where the clubhouse is. I remember Jeremy. I always remember Jeremy reffing FAU alumni game the first time. He was like, "Where's the clubhouse? Where do I get changed?" I was like, "Well, there's a little bathroom right there. It's about as much as you're going to get in Florida, sir."
Oh, you always have the bushes.
All the bushes. Good stuff, Tommy. So, how you're refereeing? What do you enjoy about refereeing?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest part is just giving back to the game. I remember when I was younger and a bit more of a loose cannon, losing my temper with a referee, and it's, hey, look, you can either be part of the problem or part of the solution. So I started picking up, and you learn a lot about the game. I mean, I can still have law discussions with guys who have played for 15, 20 years and teach them something new, which is always good. I mean, I learned a lot more about the game reffing than I did playing, in a dramatic way. What the referees are looking for, which is definitely something I started doing this season, is getting out to the clubs, going to trainings with different teams and it's not a secret what I'm looking for. When we're on the field, hey, what I look for at the breakdown, what I look for at set piece and at scrum time. These are things that they can go and they actually do a very good job of coaching the higher level referees and giving them video reviews and this is good and this is bad, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. And that doesn't always make it down to the teams. And so, trying to get out there in front of it and giving as much of that information to the players as possible is always a good thing.
Yeah, the breakdown, obviously the biggest trouble part, especially at our level. The open play stuff is everybody can pretty much ref that, but it's the breakdown I think is the hardest part. What's your biggest problem? Not problem. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the biggest challenge of refereeing rugby in Florida?
So what I would say is there's a fine line between. I'm laughing at Haywood's comment about giving him yellow. Sorry. There's a fine line between I want rugby to happen. I want players to play. I could absolutely, at our level, blow a penalty at every breakdown because someone's from the side, someone's off their feet, someone's doing something illegal. And so finding the right balance between I need to call penalties to improve play, but at the same time not keeping the whistle in my mouth for 60 minutes out of the game. So, when you get to a breakdown and there's 6 infractions and you have which one do I call, if any? Try to manage players through that. Use the whistle if I have to. Escalate if necessary.
What is your preferred division to ref here in Florida?
Highest level, the better. To be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting. I like the men's D2 games the best, right? Some of it's just the best quality rugby. Seeing some of the players at the U19 level are probably more disciplined than the adult men. Some of that is just they haven't learned how to cheat exactly, and they listen. Half the time you tell a player hands off or roll away, and their answer is no. I don't want to. I don't think I should. Like, look, man, I already made up my mind. Whether I'm right or wrong, I'm going to blow the whistle. So.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Russ.
No, go ahead. Finish up, Tommy.
No, I was just going to ask him which is the worst team you like to ref.
The worst team I like.
Yeah. Or you don't like.
You're going to softball this one. Each team has their challenges, right? No, the familiarity with the Palm Beach guys is always a challenge because they know me. They can come up and talk to me, which is a hard line to draw sometimes.
Let's better ask you which is the best team you like to ref. That won't get you into trouble.
Oh, that's probably also Palm Beach for the exact reasons why I said I didn't like it.
Okay, fair enough.
I like reffing the women, because things a little slower, which is great for me. And a lot of the basics seem to be better, right? They don't come flying into rucks, and some of the, especially the college kids, first 15 minutes of a college game, it's just guys coming in with
people. I actually got to give a shout out to the Key Biscayne U19 team. They're probably they have very good rugby knowledge, and you see some of their wingers with their ball handling skills is impressive. Pass it out to the wing, silky hands through the backs, and then onto the toe at the end is pretty impressive. I know they're like any team, they've got their quirks, but they can they listen and they respond well.
Yeah, for the only thing is, Charlie and I were talking beforehand that for the amount of meat that they eat down there, they don't get big. We need props and we need second rows on that team.
I think I said the same exact thing to their coaching staff.
The amount of good meat too. Well, Tommy, before you go, what's your most memorable match that you've reffed so far in your career?
Oh, most memorable match for me was
is there one that sticks out?
There's absolutely one that sticks out because I played the first 40 minutes at 14 for the Orange County Ravens, and then our ref got heat stroke, and so I finished the game as referee in the second half.
Dear.
Not a normal one.
Yeah, we just had a ref move here recently from Texas, and he said that he could ref for now, but if it gets too hot, he's had heat stroke twice in Texas, so he couldn't ref once it gets to a certain temperature.
Good luck in
August.
It
does you've got this. Just skip sevens, but even the one good thing about our season, we don't really start getting going until January now, when it's a little cooler. But I got the playoffs coming up. Tom, I know you've got some playoff games. I think you've got the women on the second. I forget who you have next week.
Yeah, I think I got both of Miami for the 7th time this season, and then I've got the women in the following weekend.
Boca Orlando, I think you have next week.
Oh, is it Boca Orlando? Yeah.
hosting Orlando. Now, obviously, playoffs things get a little more testy, right? Because teams know that if they lose, they're done. And then crazy shit starts to happen inside the 22, especially in those games. So, refereeing playoff rugby can be a different animal. So, I wish you luck. I thank you for helping me out. I assign all the refs, so I thank you for travels this year and being available as much as you have been, except this weekend. But it was a nice, quiet weekend.
I tried to take one weekend away from Florida, and you wrote me back in with the podcast. I can't even get a full weekend off.
That was his idea. I'm pointing the wrong way. That was his idea. But we do like having refs on now and again because they're sort of the unsung heroes of Florida rugby, and we do need more refs. And listen, Tom's a great example of how quick you can move up if you're willing, if you're in shape and willing to learn the game and willing to travel and have the time to do so, that you can move up pretty quickly. We've seen how successful Florida rugby referees have been over the last decade, especially, and before that. So if you're in being a referee, talk to me, talk to Charlie, or anybody that's already an existing referee. We get you a course and get you out there with the whistle.
All right,
safe travels back. Safe travels back, Tommy.
All right, appreciate it. See you
soon. Take care, man. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
See you, boss.
And
Good Tom Ciampa.
I did not prepare for this because I have a bunch of clips of Tom doing weird things.
Doing weird stuff, yes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But that's Tom. To be a referee, you have to be a little wacky. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's move on. We're going to go to Tampa now, Charlie.
Let's go to Tampa, yes, because we have this.
So Charlie and I were sort of talking before this episode who we wanted to have on, and we were saying, well, Tampa Krewe women are number one. Tampa Krewe men are number one. Well, in their division on their side, maybe 1A, 1B with Trident. Well, they did lost their undefeated record recently to Naples. And Tampa High School are not having the best of seasons, but they've had some good seasons the last couple of years. And who knows, maybe they could pop up in the playoffs just like Cardinal Gibbons did last season. So let's welcome Pascal from Krewe U19s. We were going to have Joe Hilbush on, but he left us at the last minute. And let Pascal chat with us. So we'll chat with Pascal, and we'll chat with Shelby Coleman from Krewe women, who are just annihilating teams left and right this season. As always, Charlie, let's do ladies first. So Shelby, tell us a bit about yourself, your rugby background, and what you do for the club.
I am on the board. I do a lot of our fundraising and sponsorship. And it's the fun part. I started playing club level rugby in North Carolina. I played for Triad Rugby in North Carolina. And I actually recently moved down here, and I knew our captain is Sam Black. She's amazing. And I played with her in North Carolina. So I just kind of hooked up with her when I moved down here.
Good stuff. So this is your first season with the Krewe? It
actually is, yeah.
Okay, so you're jumping in at the right time. Talk about this team. I'm looking at the results now. Maybe Charles pull up some of the scores. I mean, a lot of zeros on there, 5 shutouts. And then one game you only allowed 5 points, and the other game you got 4 shutouts. You haven't allowed a point since February 12th against Orlando, which I'm sure you guys is something you guys are proud of. You already have a bye into the championship game because Jacksonville withdrew from the playoffs, which I'm sure you guys aren't particularly happy about because it means now you don't have a game for at least 3 weeks now. But just talk about what's got this team ticking this season.
So honestly, we have a large amount of people who are willing to play, which is really helpful. We've got consistently 25-year-olds in practice. So that really makes everybody, because everybody really wants to be there. And that makes a huge difference. We all really want it. We're really consistent. We're working really hard. There's a lot of cohesiveness between our forwards and our backs. So we're really just pushing through.
Yeah, talk about where some of the strengths of your team are. I've watched you play, in short bursts against Fort Miami when you were down here. Very strong pack. It just seems like in that game, I know Fort Miami were sort of hanging around in the first half, and then you guys just seem to stretch away in the second half. That seems to be a theme for you guys. Talk about your fitness and how that second half really plays into your success.
Yeah, so the cool thing about us is we have a lot of really talented players all across the board. So one of the things that we really focus on is our finishers come in with the same intensities that our starters come in with. And that makes a huge difference in a game, to be able to put those people in the second half and they're coming in with the same intensity as if they're starting a game. So we can keep up the same strength that we have the entire game.
Yeah, you seem to pick up talent everywhere. Obviously, Sam Black, a great leader. How much does how many of the girls are playing rugby league, and how much has that helped you guys?
We have probably, I'd have to count. I would at least 7 to 10 girls probably on our team that are playing league. And that definitely helps because they're also playing at that more competitive level. So they want it as well. So we really do have crazy talent. We have a lot of rookies this year, which is really cool. And a lot of them come from rugby and college backgrounds. So they're coming in with skills as well. So just honestly, we've got really good players coming in from all over and players that can play in different positions. So we've got forwards that can be backs and backs that can be forwards. So we're able to move people around and do what we need to do to stay successful throughout a game.
You mentioned fundraising. That's a big issue for many teams out there at all levels. Talk about the keys to being a good fundraiser and having teams that, are able to support themselves and not have to ask, mums and dads for money and alumni, etc. But talk about how you guys have done well with the fundraising.
I am a huge proponent in the worst people can say is no. So there's literally no harm in asking. Being a nonprofit definitely helps. So being able to come up to somebody and being like, this is what we've done, this is where we're going. I mean, we're in the state finals. That's huge exposure. We are a nonprofit, and this is what we're looking to do. So just the worst thing someone can say to you is no when you're in the same place where you started. So I just ask everybody.
Yeah, Charlie's a big proponent of that, although he didn't get a sponsor for today, but he is the sponsor for today.
I should get this young lady to help me out here and get me some sponsors.
Right. Well, Shelby, I know whenever we have team players on our show, they never like to give their teammates credit, but who are some of the big stars on this team that really driven your team's success this season, whether it's defensively, leadership wise, or perhaps scoring tries?
We have a lot of leaders on our team. I've already talked about other than Sam. Yeah. Our pack leader, we've got Tiffany is amazing. She hurt her knee, so she was out for a couple of days, but Tiffany's amazing. Ruth has been our pack leader while Tiffany's out. Ruth is stellar. She's our 8-man. Kiki is a phenomenal power forward. Nana's phenomenal power forward. Our backs, Tor has got, I think she's up there in top 5 try scores. Robin is our fly half. She's made every kick, I think, except for like 3 the entire season. So she's incredible. So we, I honestly, our skill all over the board is insane. We have a lot of very, very talented players. So it's hard for me to name some, but we really do just
That's
everywhere. We're talented.
You did. And obviously your coaching staff did. James couldn't be with us today because he's in Brazil. Although Tom manages to join us from Ireland, so I'm not sure why James couldn't join us. But I know we had him on last year with Sam, and he's been a big part of this program's success. And I saw you recently picked up Tanya O'Neill, who I know played with. She was down at my sevens tournament last summer and blew me away with her talent. So I know she's a big addition.
She's killing it. Yeah, and James is great. He has a lot of really good input and a different perspective. So working with James has been really cool. And he's really focused on coming in the second half with intensity and being able to, the full 80 minutes and keeping up with everything. James says he's watching.
Oh, he is watching. Okay.
Hey, listen, you ladies need to do proper video of your games and show them. Because all of this that you're talking about, I mean, who watches this? Who can see this?
We video our games. We have drone footage.
Drone footage is, it's pretty cute, but it's not really to watch.
We want to give you guys exposure too, and we've had some games, Charlie. We had a couple of things here and there when they were down here against Miami.
I'm serious, because when you talk of all this talent, it would be really nice for all the rest of us to be able to see it. I mean, it's only going to help. Your team, and it's a little contribution to promote the sport, and this is not only for you. Most teams don't really show video. I mean, I'm mainly the one that is taping all South Florida and doing these highlights, on my own, and putting them out there. I think it just helps, at all levels.
Right.
And when I hear you talking about all this talent, it would be nice to see, right?
I'll see what I can do.
Hey, coach, you're listening, right?
He is listening, spottily in Brazil. But
Yeah.
Shelby, thanks for joining us. Good luck in the final. Not that you need much luck the way you guys are playing. You haven't given up a point, as I said, since mid-February. I know Fort Miami will be ready. They've been slowly getting better. I know that result up there surprised me. I thought you guys might beat him, but not by that much. But that'll be.
I think we're just. Yeah, I think we're just really fired up, and everybody is just really ready to go. So we got it this year. We're ready.
Okay. And it seems like some kind of postseason, right? It looks like they're going to have a South Championship at least, and then perhaps potentially nationals after that. So that'll be awesome as well if you guys can.
You better get fundraising for sure.
We are already working on it. Don't even worry.
Those trips aren't cheap. Well, thanks, Shelby, for coming on. Appreciate the time. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
See, let's chat with this gentleman here next with this. Look at this beard, Charlie. That's one of the best beards in Florida rugby, I think.
Laziness.
No, I know maintaining a beard is nothing lazy because you gotta keep it looking good. Pascal Felix from Crewe Youth Rugby. Tell us a bit about yourself, Pascal.
As a entity, our youth program is relatively new, 2-3 years. The effort was begun by Joe Hillbush. He's the one who got children all the way down to the age of 6-7 years of age. I myself just joined his efforts because, as you all know, the more the merrier when it comes to work. So as such, we have everything from U8, U10, U12, U14, also U16. The goal, of course, is to create continuity and hopefully a feeder program for a men's team and a female team. That is always the goal. As a new program, one of our focus is recruitment, of course, which is important and not so simple. In a nutshell, that's what I have, Ross.
How are you doing with sorry, Ross? How are you doing with numbers in all those divisions?
Not where we want to be. We have to partner with other clubs. One of our biggest partners will be Pelton Crewe, which are right there in the Bay Area, as well as Jacksonville. So that's what we do to be competitive. We all understand that we need to do our part to increase numbers so we can hopefully create more competitive competitions, should I say. So yeah, that's where we are today.
You'll get there. Obviously, Tropical 7's coming up next month in your backyard, so hopefully you guys will be putting a team or two in that. Give us some of your rugby background as an individual, Pascal.
Wow. I mean, my sunset years, the last teams I've run with were the Maryland Exiles, now the Potomac Exiles, as well as the Ventura County Outlaws. So rugby is nothing new. My earliest memories were playing rugby in the Congo, in Lubumbashi. So yes.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah, here and there and everywhere.
My dad's watching. Not only he does watch, he used to sell Guinness in Africa, so he's been all over the place in Africa. So I'm sure he appreciates that. Talk about your relationship with the men's team. We try to get some of the men's team on and the women's team. How do you go? I know some clubs, the women and the men and the youth are sort of separate, but how does it work together with Crewe?
I think we're in a very great situation. I wish I could take a picture or video clip for you on Thursday nights. We're on the same pitch. We have children, high schoolers, men, females. And I think to a certain extent, when you have that type of setting, for lack of better terms, I'll call it a family setting, it's almost encouraging for the young people to understand that they're not alone in all this. They can see the drills that they're performing being repeated at a higher level. And it's I think it's the most encouraging thing, not only as a young player, but also as a coach, because it's almost you're getting support in your coaching. So yeah, that's how I would say the support is there. You would see that at times when numbers are low, the men do come and involve themselves in our high school practices. As such, the high schools do the same thing where they come and help our younger ones. And as you know, it's you can coach, but sometimes getting feedback from your peers or somebody closer to your age group goes so much further.
No, for sure. I love the fact that you guys, everybody practicing at once, have the youth practice before the men, and the men can just come early and help out. Love that. Now let's talk about U19 season. Looking at your record, you're only one win and I think 6 losses, but you look at some of the scores, we had some very close games. Charlie's pulling up here. He only lost by 3 points to Wellington. He only lost by 12 points to Jacksonville. You've had some long road trips as well. Wellington here. They're going to make up that Gibbons game. I'm not sure if they're going to come down here to Key Biscayne next weekend. Tell us how the U19 season has gone, numbers wise, and just sort of any names for us to watch individually.
The best person to speak on that is Joe Hillbush. Sometimes
we asked it.
I'm very lucky to be on the same pitch as him. But in Jacksonville, when our younger ones were running, our high schoolers were there too. And it was definitely a game of attrition where quite a bit of injuries got the best of us. So, yes, this is what I can say, what I've experienced. Everything else would be stipulate. How'd you call that? You know what I mean? I'll be guessing or assuming, and we don't want to do that.
No, yeah, I understand. Yeah, hopefully we'll get Joe on in the next couple of weeks to talk about U19. So, Pascal, what age group are you mostly involved with?
Well, wherever I'm needed, but
wherever they need you, okay.
Yeah, wherever due to an injury, I can only focus on the U14 as a transitioning to U16. As you can only imagine, It's a very fragile balance we want. First, you're domineering in the youth level, and now going to high school. Well, you're not as good as or as fast or as strong as you thought you were. So we're managing that as the next season is approaching.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, Pascal. Good luck to the way. Hopefully, we'll see you at Tropical Sevens. I know you guys will be involved, I assume, in the organization there as well. And it's great to have it in your backyard. And good luck for the rest of the way in the youth age groups.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Charlie. Take care.
Thank you, Mike.
Cheers, Pascal. As we said, we did invite Crew men who were undefeated till losing to Naples recently to come on and chat, but nobody got back to us. So maybe one day we'll have Tampa men on. I think we've had them on yet, Charlie. They're sort of a mystery crew. A mystery crew, we'll say, in Crew. But let's move on to some people that we do know very well. The Boca Raton Buccaneers, who, in a game that I refereed 2 weekends ago, handed Cardinal Gibbons their first loss of the season. So let's bring in our folks from Boca. Matt Guest, assistant coach. We've had Johan van Wyk on before. And Vicente, how do you say your last name, Vicente?
Ajue. I say A-J-U-E. That's the easiest way to say it.
Ajue, yes. Well, welcome. And I know you guys didn't this weekend had I assume spring break. I know it was just finishing tomorrow, so you guys didn't have a game this weekend. But obviously the big win over Cardinal Gibbons. Matt, let's go over that game first. It was obviously a game I had a front row seat for. I'd say probably one of the best defensive games I've seen, at that level. And you had to be good against Cardinal Gibbons because of the physicality they bring and the straight running. If you miss tackles against this team, you're going to end up on the losing effort. But just give us a view from what you remember of that game, Matt.
Yeah, from what I've heard, most of the comments are like that. The defense was definitely there, and that was one of the things that we worked on. We knew these guys were going to be tough, physically tough, and they were going to try to run straight and run over the top. So just take their space away and don't fall off of your tackles, man. That you're going to be all in their head. And then if you've got your own ideas of what you want to do when you do have the ball, then you're on the right path. So as you can see here, we're not afraid to gang tackle. These guys, if you know they're big, it's going to be tough to trust one-up tackles. But you can see here, we don't really have trouble with that. Most of our guys like to hit, and they go in nice and low. But the biggest thing was just taking these guys' space away so they can't get up that full head of steam.
No, for sure. Well, give us a bit about your rugby background, Matt. Before I forgot to ask you about that before.
Oh yeah, no, that's all right, man. That's okay. So I started out at Arkansas State. Just been stuck at scrum half my whole career. Not really big enough to do a whole lot else. I can't really fly down the side for the wing position.
That's fine, man. I was always a scrum half. No shame in that. Come on.
No, you play the game between your ears. You can stay out of trouble and kind of control the flow. So played at Arkansas State, and then got lucky. Played out in Glendale for a couple of years, and then kind of retired back to Little Rock and played a lot of D2 rugby there in Little Rock. So got a lot of my coaching insights have come from some older heads in the game. There's a few women there in Little Rock that I've learned a lot from. Julie McCoy, Donna Thomas. There's a big group of women there that do a really good job. That's where a lot of my coaching stuff has come from.
Good stuff. And how did you end up in Boca? I know you played a little bit for the Buccaneers men's team.
That's right, yeah. So the itch to play is always there. I know this is a hotbed of rugby. There's not a lot of places around the country that have, what we're doing now, a podcast on Sunday night. So I knew the rugby is here. The weather's fabulous, and then I had a couple of personal connections with the team in Boca. So I wanted to come down here and try to give it one more run. And then I knew if I couldn't play, there'd be opportunities to continue to contribute in other ways. So that's what I've been able to do.
Good stuff. Let's love to see the old boys giving back on the coaching side of things. I know it's been a problem with Boca in the past. I was obviously involved in the past as president and keeping the old boys around involved as even as coaches at any of the youth levels. That's great to see. Let's talk to Vicente, who we just saw his kick from. I don't know, where was that from, Charlie? His own 10-meter line, I think, about 10 meters from his own try line. I know he had a bit of help with the wind, but Vicente, really give us a bit of your rugby background and how you ended up in Boca.
I was born in Chile, and I started playing around when I was 6 years old, and I didn't finish high school in Chile, so I had a lot of experience down in New Zealand. I went to a sport tour to play in New Zealand with my school.
Oh, nice.
And to a rugby camp in Napier, New Zealand as well for a month or something. And on 2020, I went to an exchange to Christchurch and played there for around 6 months. And the experience with a totally different rugbies, different perspectives, obviously in Chile, played in Argentina as well. And to be honest, obviously the best rugby that I've been is New Zealand. In high school, a totally different level of rugby.
Yes.
A different culture. And big guys like the Samoans, you got Icelanders, and it's a love of the sport. Basically, eating, sleeping, rugby every day. Yeah, and then came back. Came here to Chile, to US because of my dad's job. And as soon as I got here, I tried to get a text to the Boca Rugby Club, and next day I was training with them.
That's how it should be. Listen, man, there's almost everywhere in the world, there's a rugby club somewhere around, and they'll accept you, from day one as one of theirs. Talk about this game, Vicente. Talk about that game against Cardinal Gibbons. I know you were playing 15. Where do you normally play? Because I was talking to Matt beforehand. He said he kind of had you at the back there because you come in kind of late and you still had the existing playmakers at sort of 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. But where do you like to play? And then talk about that game against Gibbons.
I just my positions are 10 and outside center, but I've been playing all my life. I've been playing in all positions, scrum half, wing, both of the centers, fullback as well. But here in my team, in Boca, I'll prefer to play at 10. But we don't have players. We don't have we got injuries as well, so making trouble. But I can play 15 as well. I feel good playing back there.
So talk about that Gibbons game. Obviously the kick. Is this the try again, Charlie? This is from let's see here.
Yes.
About the 7-yard line of the football pitch. You did have a bit of wind to help, and then
there was a wind. It wasn't that side, but to that side going, he helped a lot, and the pressure as well. You can see how all of the pressure comes there, steal the ball, and score the try.
Yeah, that guy made a bad decision. He should have just stayed in his own try zone and put that ball down. You know, the little half hesitation, and that was the end, and a big try there in that victory for you guys. What else can you tell us about that game?
Well, as you can see, the kicking for when we were kicking for goal, because of the help of the wing, and I've been practicing a lot my kicking abilities and try to feel more comfortable and try to score as many as I could. I have 7 chances throughout the game, and I scored 4 of them. So I feel kind of good, but I could have done better. I think I could have done better, definitely.
Well, listen, I'm gonna give you a 5th one because your coach Chris Vassell decided not to know how to AR, and he needs to understand that he needs to be on the post that you're kicking towards. So I had a good chat with Chris the next day and told him where he should be positioned. So I'm going to give you 5 out of 7, Vicente, because your coach Chris doesn't know how to AR. But Charlie appreciates a good kicker, and Charlie, this gentleman, he's got one of the biggest fit we've seen.
Let me just say one thing, Vicente. Not only I think, and for the coach, you see in the U19 at the U19 level, some teams that have these amazing kickers that you don't even see like in the men's clubs.
Yeah.
Even younger, U16, U14s. And at this level, the U19 gets very competitive. I mean, that's how you win a game many times. And I'm sort of amazed that some teams, they just seem like to not care about the kicking thing. It's like, never mind, we're just going to score tries. And, you know, a close game, as we can see, I mean, so many times it's a kicker who's going to win it. And it's, I'm a kicking freak. So
for me, like being as a 10 or 15, you got more like a better view of the field, and you can take more decisions as you get the ball more often. And as you can see in the game, there is a 150-22 that I did. And
right.
I saw that.
That was my first ever one.
First everyone seen, you can use that as an advantage basically, and get meters, yards forward, and put the team on pressure as well.
Hey, you have a lot of fans, huh? Are these guys from Chile?
There's a lot I can see.
We'll have to get Vicente to say a word to his fans before we go. But Matt, obviously Boca playing very well this season, some great results. What does this team need to do, you know, to take the title for the first time this year? You know, you've come close to semifinals in previous years, and always just sort of fallen it. But this team seems ready to win.
That's a big question. So I think the easiest answer is to win. Get a little bit lucky. Keep putting in the work like we're doing. I think the thing that has helped us the most is to try to keep it fairly simple, and to really just lean into that, like Pascal mentioned earlier, the family kind of thing with our men help out a little bit. We really try to give these guys something to fight for, that other than just a win or a loss. So having that buy-in that's on a little bit different level, that is the thing. That's why, you know, you guys are talking a lot about Vinny's skill with his feet, but the real thing is the pressure. If you give that Cardinal Gibbons kid 2 or 3 more seconds to look and see what's going on, he's gonna touch it down. But if you're flying up and in his face, then he has to make it quick. And that fly up, that effort, that's the difference maker. That's that little something that may be special or whatever else that we seem to have right now. We just have to keep it and keep building.
Let me ask you, Matt, because we were talking about this before we started. I was telling you that this game, it seemed to me that you guys had like a plan for this game and you like stuck to it and it paid off.
Yes. So the 2 things. So I mentioned earlier that when you said that, it sounds really good to hear that, because that's rare for it to work out that way. And I think one of the things the 2 things that have helped us have that thing show up is to keep it very simple. Don't try to do too much. If you try to overscript it, then when things go haywire, everybody's lost. So simplicity, and then fundamentals, man. We really lean in to, even like we're talking with Vinny here, kicking. That's a fundamental skill in the game. So lean into those things. Don't lean into your big schemes that you hope come off well. Teach the guys how to tackle, how to run, how to pass, right? And then apply pressure and take points when they're on offer. If you have points that are on offer consistently and you're consistently giving the ball back to the other team, it's going to be tough. So if you have guys making mistakes, make them pay for those mistakes. So that's it. A simple game plan that seizes those opportunities.
You guys also seem to be like mentally in the game for the 70 minutes. Like it was you're
Thank you.
very focused, which many times is the difference when a team cannot keep that concentration in the game and they start losing it at some point, and then it all goes to
Yeah, I think one of the big things, it's kind of weird to say too, but you got to make it bigger than the game. These guys were looking forward to this particular game for a while, so sometimes having that little bit of extra to fight for makes a big difference.
Yeah, a couple of games left for Boca this season. You mentioned the basics, Charlie. Yeah, you and I talk a lot about how even some of the men's teams don't do the basics right. That game, I think, had some of the best basics done well that I've ever reffed at that level, especially, and it turned into a great game as a result. Vicente, obviously, you're a senior now, right, in high school?
Yeah, I should be. But...
What's next for you? We should be. What's next for you?
Not sure.
For you rugby wise, we're going to see you playing for Jaguares. You're going to be up at Tropical Sevens.
I can't play for Tropical Sevens, so because of age problems, because I was born in 2003 and I'm going to turn 19 in a month. But I'm seeking to play Jaguares here, Jaguares, and of course going to college, search for a scholarship and keep playing. And if I could go pro, I'll definitely take that opportunity and play for good college. And
you haven't picked a college yet?
Well, for now on, I haven't talked too much because it's my first year here. So,
okay.
But Coach Kreese is helping me there to make some moves, and I've been doing my research too. Probably, I obviously want to go D1 rugby, definitely.
Maybe you can talk to Gavin McClively.
Get up to even if you don't go play it. Well, you could play at Tropical Sevens because there is a U23 division as well, Vicente, and they're having
there's something we get.
Yeah, there's
the U23 is different than U19, right? That's something.
So
he could play for the U23s, and they do have the combine there on the the Thursday. That some of the USA Rugby representatives are going to be there. So even if you don't go play, you should certainly try and get up there on the Thursday beforehand. And
I'll be there. I'll definitely be there. But yeah, I was talking to this coach, and he told me that the thing is that if I subscribed myself in USA Rugby as U19, so I can't go up to play for men's and then go back to play for
okay. Gotcha. It's obviously in the middle of the playoffs, right? I think you guys have one round, and then the week off for Tropical Sevens Easter, and then back to it after that. I think, if I remember correctly, right, Charlie? We'll get to us in a little bit, but I know it's kind of an awkward time. Well, Vicente, listen, say hi to all your fans who are filling the comment sections. Give them something in Spanish.
Vicente, en español.
Muchas gracias por todo el apoyo. Un saludo y un besito.
Huevones.
There you go. Well, good luck, Matt and Vicente. We've got quarterfinals coming up on the 9th, and then state semis on the 23rd and the finals. It's a good thing to see that the U19s, after the 16th, U19s is all we've got. So they'll get all the focus from the Florida rugby community on the 23rd and the 30th. So if you're interested in coming to watch some of those games, obviously rugbyfl.com will have all the schedules. And best of luck to Boca the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Gracias, Vicente.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good stuff, Charlie. That man's got a bright future. I'm going to call him a man because I think he turns 19 soon, which I was very disappointed because I was looking at him some scouting, and he said he was born in 03. I said, 1 year earlier, 1 year later, you'd be golden. I'll definitely get you a look for U18s USA, but he's got a bright future wherever he ends up, especially with that foot and that rugby brain of his.
Yeah, and he mentioned so many countries. He played like in Argentina and Chile and New Zealand.
Yeah, he's been all over the world. Listen, that experience is massive, and was college recruiters hear that he's played at those kind of levels. They'll be jumping to get him on a team somewhere for sure. He's just got to get seen. That's the biggest thing, right, Charlie? Get your highlight tapes out there. Put a highlight tape together and get it out. Email colleges. It's the best way to get seen. All right, playoffs, Charlie. Are we going to go to that next?
Okay, yes. Let me just...
What we're going to start with? You tell me. Women first? That's probably ladies first is the easiest one, right?
Okay.
We can knock that out.
I was.
There you go. Women D2, ladies first. Tampa just crushing everybody in their path, and they will get a bye in the semifinals due to Jacksonville declining to make the trip down there after a night a couple of weeks ago. So it will be Fort Miami, who actually are these updated through yesterday? No, Charlie.
No, they are not. They are not.
Because, as of 3:12, I see Fort Miami did knock off Jacksonville, yesterday with a bonus point win. So Fort Miami will host Orlando in the one semifinal on April 2nd, which Mr. Tom Ciampa, our previous guest, will referee that game down here on April 2nd. I assume at Athlete Range, where the Tridents play. Tridents will also have a home game that day as well against an opponent to be determined. So then Tampa will have a bye, and then the final will be the following week, that 9th, in Titusville, I think, right, Charlie? I think they've almost confirmed that the senior stuff will be in Titusville on the 9th.
Yeah, that is actually a nice venue for the finals, I think.
So Miami will have to try and figure out a way to try and slow down this Tampa side. They're just on a massive roll at the moment. What's next?
So we can. Oh,
whatever's next. Just hit that arrow, Charlie, and we'll just go. We'll go with it. Men's D2, D3. Let's go here. That's finished up. Actually finished up. There was no games this weekend, I think, so they were kind of finished up already.
Yeah.
Tridents and Tampa, the top two seeds on D2, they will host on April 2nd. Teams to be determined. I know Miami travels to Naples in the one quarterfinal, and then Orlando traveling to Boca in the other quarterfinals. I'd have to fancy the home teams in those ones, Charlie, which would then mean.
Yeah, but
Boca,
I think anything could happen in those games.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. We'll revisit this next week.
Okay.
But I'm going to disagree with you there. Boca, I think Boca and Naples handily, which then sends Boca to play Tampa in the one semifinal of the D2, and then Tridents will host Naples if things go to plan in the other semifinal. And then obviously the final again there will be on April 9th in Titusville. On the D3 side of things, I think we have the first quarterfinal. There are only 5 teams in D3, so just one quarterfinal, which I think is Sarasota at Jacksonville, right, Charlie? I think
correct. Yes.
That one could be up for grabs. I don't know who wins that one, but then Palm Beach and Brevard will host. Palm Beach hosting Pelicans. I think Brevard. Palm Beach playing the winner of that Jacksonville, Sarasota, then Brevard and Pelicans
hosting Pelicans
next weekend. I expect Brevard and Palm Beach to meet in the final. I think we've sort of thought that would be the case all season. I don't have any reason to believe that will change. So get out there and watch your local playoffs. Listen, the playoffs are a different animal. It's much more fun than the regular season with your season on the line. Charlie, what we got?
So, wait.
We did them already.
Yeah. I'm having a little trouble here with my.
Oh, there we go. Let's go to you.
Let's go with the men, and then we'll go down.
Men's D4. A lot of teams are in a bit of a mess, but we Tallahassee and Gainesville are really the only thing we're waiting for. I asked for a decision from our esteemed FRU general manager Evan Haig today about who actually won that North Division. I think Tallahassee may have edged it, but I'm not 100%. The results from last weekend, the 12 weren't on the results yet, so I really don't know.
Tallahassee won their game this weekend, so
they did. I think Tallahassee may edge that one and will host a first-round quarterfinal. Daytona will get a bye, as well as Okapi. And then there's all sorts of other stuff going on. I know Ave Maria actually finished. Eckerd somehow got first seed in that division. So they will host Gainesville likely. Well, Ave Maria will head to Tallahassee. Lakeland take on Okapi, I know, in the first round. Okapi don't have a bye. Lakeland take them on, I think, this weekend. And then I'm going off the top of my head here. Fort Lauderdale at Daytona. So far playing the playoffs, they've only managed, I think, to play one game this season, but
2 games.
A lot of teams, and you can follow the schedule at rugbyfl.com once it's all finalized, which hopefully at some point this week, because I need to assign refs, and the games are only 6 days away, and I don't know who's hosting. I think Tallahassee, but Daytona and Okapi, I think the clear class of Division 4. Although Gainesville they've got a little better after a slow start. Gainesville could be in the mix as well. and then they should be able to handle Eckerd, I think, on the road. And so we'll see. I think Gainesville and/or Daytona and Okapi should be in the mix for the T4 title. Next, Charlie.
Next.
Now, University College men, they still have a week. I think there's 3 games next weekend.
2 games.
2 games next weekend. There was 3 games this weekend. FSU, UCF. I think no, UCF are done. So they UCF. The way this works is the top seed gets a bye. So FSU, they do play UNF.
Oh no,
coming weekend.
Just 1 more games next week. 1 more.
Just 1 game?
No, one more round of games.
One more round of games, yeah.
UCF is done with the one that they played yesterday.
UCF's played their 6, yeah. So FSU play UNF. If FSU handle that, they will clinch that top seed. And UCF are actually in first place as of today, Charlie, because the FSU didn't play this weekend.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
UCF beat FAU. So, but if FSU take care of UNF, they will get the first round bye, which means that UCF, UNF, and perhaps FIU beat UF, right, Charlie, this weekend?
Yes. So
FIU jump up into 4th for now, which is going to be they'll be hosting a quarterfinal. They obviously have to play FIU this weekend, so that they could potentially, I know USF plays UF, so there could well be some changes in those bottom 4 spots, but the top 3 spots are pretty secure. So UCF and UNF, 2 of those top 3 teams will host a quarterfinal, and then we'll have one other team hosting next weekend as well. On the 2nd. Not the 26th, but FSU and UCF so far leading the way in the college side of things.
Let's give a shout out to UNF, which has done great this season, as opposed to traditionally they were a very weak team, and this year they have done really much better.
They have done well. They've guaranteed themselves a home quarterfinal, which is obviously key, being as far north as they are. So it's going to force somebody to make a long trip, whether it's USF or FIU, perhaps. We'll soon see. So still some games to play there in the FCC. I was asking about college women.
Don't ask.
No, I did. I did ask last week. I asked the union, and they did say that Eckerd is progressing, as well as did they say UCF? I think the 2 teams that roared. There's not going to be a state championship because there's just too many teams that have fallen away from the schedule. So UCF and Eckerd will advance to the South. Obviously, that's not going to happen until later in April. But that's what I was told. No playoffs for the women.
It's been a bad season for the college women. Really?
Yeah, it's difficult. I feel bad for Eckerd. Eckerd haven't played a proper game, as far as I know, this season. They have to go to end-scrum playoffs without having played a game, which is tough. They are going to try and play something next weekend and on the 9th against USF, FSU combined, sort of a friendly scrimmage. But not having played any competitive games before the playoffs is a tough situation. It's not their fault at all. FIU and USF basically ended their season early, and it's disappointing to see. The most disappointing thing is the teams committing to a season when they don't have the numbers, Charlie. As you know, that's the most frustrating thing. You don't have 25, 30 going into January, then don't have a team. That's what I'll say about that. But the wife agrees with me. It has been a bad year for women's college. I know FAU, though. No, shout out to FAU. They had their first proper meeting yesterday as a team, or this weekend anyway. So they're looking to get back for next season. So that'd be great to see. Obviously, my alma mater. What else we got, Charlie? U19s have a couple more weeks here to go. This is obviously not. Did any team play this past weekend? So these are up to date, right? Because I don't think anybody played.
Yeah, these are up to date. Yes.
And obviously, 3 teams, sort of 4 pulling away from the rest of the team. So I'm assuming 1 through 4 will host, which all 4 teams are in South Florida. So I've got to somehow find refs for those. I mean, 5 of the 9 teams are from South Florida, but I know we got some games still left to go over the next couple of weeks. Their first round isn't till, we said, 9th, Charlie, right? Quarterfinals on the 9th, then a week off for Tropical Sevens, followed by the semis on the 23rd. And there's your games coming up. Wellington, Gibbons, Cape against Naples, and Jacksonville against Boca. You expect the home teams to take those 3 games, I would think. And then Cape Gibbons is a fun contest, Charlie, as we know. Boca U19s, Hammerheads having a down year, but perhaps they can give Boca a challenge on the road there. So yeah, those 4 teams should be playing away and hosting games on the 9th, which is obviously the same day as state finals for the seniors in Titusville. So I may end up having to ref one of those games, I assume. So, but plenty to play for there, Charlie. I think so. Any one of those top 4 teams could certainly win it on the day.
Oh, yeah. I would say
Gibbons
so,
still with some games to make up. I'm not sure if they're going to make up that game against Tampa. We've asked about that, right? I don't know if they will.
I don't think so. No, because
they made the 4th victory
at this point. There is not really too many dates unless they go and play, in the middle of the week or something, which they have done in
the 2 teams.
No, they have done that in the past. They can go and meet in the middle if they want to do it, but maybe they don't.
Well, we'll see. So exciting playoff times. We will have teams of 3, Charlie, for almost every playoff game. Not everyone. I can't guarantee we'll have it for everyone, especially down here because there's so many games down this way. But
let's make that a habit and have a team of 3 for every single game. What do you think?
I'd love to that happen, Charlie, but as you know, in February, there's 25 games around the state. It's impossible.
Listen, it's very easy. It's very easy. You make it mandatory for each club to have at least one, official AR in their home games.
Because our union's so good at keeping clubs accountable, Charlie.
And then you have a team of 3.
I'd love to have that, but I know how things. I've been here too long, Charlie. I'm jaded.
Well, but we have now the Florida Youth Rugby Union like coming back as an institution. They actually had a couple of meetings already. The board. Alan Lawson was also designated the chairman. So good things to come, hopefully.
Do you want to show this weekend's games coming up, Charlie?
Yes, I can do that.
Do you have the playoff matchups on there, though? That's the question.
I have some of them, the ones that I could figure out, because,
I'm also going to pull up my
I even
referee
have
assigning website. So there we go.
I already have the referees on there, as you can see.
Look at you go. Let's start from the top. Always a fun matchup between FIU and FAU. There is some stuff riding on this because perhaps if some results go either team's ways, they could host potentially a first-round playoff game if results go their way elsewhere.
Who?
FAU and FIU. There's still a chance they could host a game with the 4 seed.
FIU, I don't think so, because but
Charlie?
FIU could. I don't think they have.
You're going to pull up your standings again, so we can argue about this. It's 5 points. You can get 5 points. You can definitely pull up a. There's still a chance that either of those 2 teams could host a first-round game.
There is.
Yeah, go pull it up here. Because look, FAU have 3 points. FIU jumps above UF. FAU's only 4 points behind UF now, so it could jump them.
Okay, yes, okay, yeah, sure.
If they beat FIU, although maybe they can't catch FIU, so I might be wrong. But FIU could certainly have a home game if things went their way, because FIU now has 10 or 11 points.
Yes.
We got UF hosting USF in the middle of that college bracket, and then FSU hosting UNF, which is a big one. There could potentially be a bye on the line for either of those 2 teams or UCF, depending on the result there. We have one final. Is that a rescheduled match? I don't know, but Hammerhead's hosting Miami. Sorry, that is the quarterfinal. Sorry, yes, that's the quarterfinals. The 2D2 quarterfinals. Hammerhead's hosting Miami and Boca hosting Orlando. I would certainly fancy that, as I said earlier, the home 2 teams in those. Jacksonville hosting Sarasota. That one could go either way. Daytona hosting Fort Lauderdale. That one could get ugly, Charlie, I think.
Why?
Okapi hosting Lakeland.
Daytona has had a perfect season so far.
That's what I'm saying. It could get ugly. Daytona could serious points up if Lauderdale even makes the trip. And Okapi hosting Lakeland. I think I'd fancy Okapi in that one by a few tries, but I think Lakeland will give him a reasonable game. And then on the U19 side of things, Gibbons hosting Wellington, Hammerheads hosting Cape, and Boca hosting Jacksonville. I think all 3 home teams win those. College women, UCF, FSU. I have no idea who's going to win that one. And that last game has not happened. So you can just delete that last game from rugby history because that game is not happening.
Okay. Hey, Speaking of college women, the UF ladies, they went up to Atlanta last weekend and played two
They
games,
did. It was
right?
a respectable result.
Yes, absolutely. And it's pretty amazing that they, did the trip and played two games. So a shout out to them.
Shout out to the Gators women. Well done. That's not an easy place to play. It's a fun trip. But yeah. Well, good stuff, Charlie. We packed it in there.
Yeah, we had we had somebody threatening to join us. Some guy
where's
from
Austin
Palm
Parish?
Beach.
Austin Parish is full of it.
But I told them anybody can jump in. In this last minutes of the show, anybody rugbyfl.com.
Charlie, we didn't go over results from yesterday. If you want to pull those up.
Oh.
We didn't go over those. We could do that real quick. I mentioned I was at that FAU UCF game. It was 21-7 early in the second half. FAU scored a try. It looked like they'd make a game of it, but it didn't happen. UCF ran away with that one. FIU with a fun win, 31-22.
Yeah, let me tell you, I was at the game, and
yes,
FIU was the better team for sure. But UF scored all those points in the second half.
Oh, wow.
They came back pretty.
Nice road effort to only lose by 9. Yeah. A couple more points, they would have got the losing bonus point. Fort Lauderdale, South Florida was canceled. We don't need to say anything about that or that next game. Daytona handling Claymores. Lakeland got a forfeit win over Hammerheads B. Tallahassee with a big win over Tampa, which we think secures a home quarterfinal for Tallahassee. Gainesville with a win over Orlando B.
Where's Mike Gomez when you need him, to confirm some information? Where's Mike Gomez?
He was in the chat. Maybe he can confirm that if Tallahassee are at home or not. Jacksonville. Fort Miami went up and got that big win at Jacksonville, which secured a home semifinal for Fort Miami. They will host Orlando, who took a 55-0 whooping at the hands of Tampa. That was their 4th straight shutout, Charlie, something like that. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then there's that result, 27-3 for Life JV over Gators women. So yeah, exciting playoffs coming up. If Gomez doesn't even know either. I did send an email this morning asking for information and did not get it because I need to schedule the ref. Although Ben Walker may be reffing both games in Tallahassee next weekend because there's nobody else within an hour, 2 hours of that place. So we'll see if he can handle both of those games up there next weekend. Good stuff, Charlie. Playoff rugby is exciting. If you're in the local area and you've got a team playing the playoffs, please go out and support your team. Go and Tallahassee points differential, but the results on the website still said 0-0 from last weekend. So I think there was a forfeit win. I'm going to assume Tallahassee's at home, unless I'm told otherwise. But yeah, if you're in the local area with a playoff game going on nearby, you please get out and watch. Playoff rugby is the best. It's great.
I would try to encourage the clubs to really try to drum up support and get people to the fields, because a rugby game, when you have a solid sideline, it's so different. I mean, it's so much more exciting to watch, and I think for the players, it's also
100%. I mean, that Gibbons Boca game. I know people were in the
they had a nice crowd,
but that was a great atmosphere with 2 games, a very close game. So yeah, get out there and watch rugby if you can. Well, good stuff, Charlie. As always, if you haven't watched the live broadcast, you can always tell your friends, check out the replay on YouTube or on Facebook, and you can always listen to the audio-only version via all your favorite podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever the hell the name of that one is that I use, Overcast. Plenty of good options out there to check us out on your work tomorrow morning. Great. All right, Charlie. Well, I'd say see you next week. We'll see. Hopefully, we can figure it out for next week. I don't have any softball next week. I do have to work in the evening, but I may be able to get out here again next weekend before, and we can talk about the first round of the playoffs.
Awesome.
Don't forget to check out rugbyfl.com for all your schedule needs. And you can obviously check out the venues as well there where the games will be. Well, I think most teams have pretty much got a solid venue of where the playoff games are going to be. They've been pretty consistent this year for the most part, other than FAU, who just play whatever pitch is available. Well, Charlie, good
Okay,
as always. See you next time.
Thank you, Ross.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
for tuning in.
Thank you to everybody and to our guest. Bye-bye.